Hi everyone. Just thought I'm on my way to do a gig at a community centre for people with dementia. And as I'm driving, I was pondering on a few things, as I always do. And I was thinking about the fact that recently I turned 40. And jokingly, when I've spoken to people, I've said, "Oh, um, it's just another day, another birthday. Nothing's changed." But maybe what I've really been feeling is that I'm reluctant to open up about the fact that things have changed. There's something about my mindset that has changed. Um, Maybe just before I turned 40, but I'm moving into a new decade and a new era of my life. And if I were to go back through the years, my 20s, I was trying to establish my career as a musician, getting myself uh, comfortable performing, getting in touch with venues, talking to new people, and getting out and just gigging as much as possible, learning the ropes. Um, and then just before I turned 30, my first daughter was born. And thank goodness I'd already established myself as a musician because it meant that I could maintain a stable career whilst bringing up a family. And one of the most amazing things about being a musician was the fact that I worked unsociable hours. It worked perfectly. I mean, I was able to be around during the day, help out around the house, try and do bits and pieces with social media. But the main focus was all of a sudden not just trying to develop a career, but to be responsible and do the right things by my family, which was amazing. Just being there for all of their first steps, to see them develop as babies and into toddlers. And it just meant I had to take my foot off the gas in terms of pushing my music career and focus on what I believe is the most important thing in life, which is family. Always has been from when I was growing up. My family has always been very close. I have two older brothers and a younger sister, and we all live together in a a normal sized home with a normal upbringing, um, and that really developed a, a core belief that family was important, and the fact that throughout my life I've never felt like I needed to go out and make friends or try and bring anybody else into my life. I think made the way that I approach other people in relationships in a more balanced manner. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's been my experience. Um, and so I have three children, three young girls, and all the way through my 30s, it's been about being there for them whilst being able to put food on the table and pay bills. Um, and now I'm 40, and as many of you that already know me will be aware, I've been doing some teaching for the last 2 years, and it just came about as my youngest daughter was going to school. And so for me, it couldn't have worked out any better that I was offered this position at that precise moment in time. And so now all my children are at school, and my focus isn't so much about being there for them because they're at school. I don't need to be there during the day. And the drive that I still have for my music career is still there as it's always been. So I'm currently working 7 days a week, doing teaching for 4 days in a solid role, and then doing additional teaching jobs after that as well. So really putting in the hours, which ironically is the one thing I never planned on doing. Being a musician, it was all about being free and being chill, and I still maintain that, really. I mean, as a person, my personality is generally laid back. But yeah, things have changed. Now that I have done what I needed to do over their early years, my children's early years, I can start focusing my attention back on my music and my well-being, my health. Recently I went through a phase of cutting down, even though I haven't got any muscle to cut down to, and you know, losing the dad bod. I don't personally feel like there's any excuse to have it these days with all the information that's available out there. And of course it's trial and error, working things out. And yeah, since I've turned 40, my mindset feels different. My outlook on life, I think, has shifted. And it will be really interesting to see what I achieve over the next, 5-10 years. It's always been a tiny niggle in the back of my mind that at some point, can I be a 50-year-old guy and sustain the amount of work that I'm doing right now? Will venues still want to hire me as the age gap between myself and the people starting to go out widens? And so the shift into teaching is partly by chance, and it's partly because I'd already started moving a little bit in that direction, where once upon a time it was about the career and nothing to do with money. Through my 30s, all of a sudden money mattered, and everything that I did, being self-employed, had an impact on my life. I mean, even at the beginning of this year, my wife arranged a trip for my 40th birthday, and it was at the beginning of January, so I'd already lost a week's work at the very beginning of January, and then another week's work. Being self-employed, even though things are stable right now, it still had a big impact. And moving into February now, things are really starting to balance out and stabilize, which is really nice. But I've also been amazed and honestly privileged and so happy that people put their trust in me. I've booked every single Friday and Saturday night for the rest of the year. Almost all of my Sundays are booked, and I've got the teaching job as well. So it's given me, now that the work is in the diary for the year, time to reflect on how else I can move forwards. And one of the things I've been thinking about deeply and wanted to do for a long time is record more YouTube videos, or more videos that I can post on social media and on YouTube. I think YouTube in particular, because the content that you provide there has more of an evergreen aspect to it than something that you post on social media that seems to be fleeting. You can post something and within a 48-hour period, that piece of content doesn't have the same impact that it did the moment that you released it. So YouTube makes sense to me. And of course, in terms of being a self-employed, independent musician, the additional revenue stream is something that intrigues me as well. Be really interested to see how things pan out. And what's also crazy is that all I ever wanted to do was sing, and for me, that's been my experience for all of my adult life, and it still is. I'm driving now to do a gig at a care home. I'm going to do a small teaching job after that, and then I've got another gig tonight. I don't want to lose that. Never want to lose that. But I did think that through what I love to do, I could share it with people online. But I found it incredibly difficult to generate pieces of content on platforms like YouTube with me singing songs. It doesn't seem to generate any traction at all. I've got a cool story actually. Just the other day I was in the petrol station getting a coffee before work, and someone recognised me from YouTube, which also, this guy doesn't know it, but he really made me realise that the reach from these videos matters. People do see it. And I can't believe that I'm in a petrol station and someone recognises me from a YouTube video. That blows my mind. And yet my YouTube channel is teeny tiny. So, yeah, I think what it's done is solidified the fact that it is worthwhile pursuing doing things on YouTube, especially. And another thing that has changed is the fact that because it's been my lived experience, the life of a musician, I take it for granted and I don't see the appeal of one day to the next. You know, I just do normal stuff. I spend a lot of time driving. I am in the van all the time. I get to a gig and often will sing the same songs. They're songs at work. They're songs that people enjoy singing along to, the kind of songs that I think people expect to hear. I try to mix things up a bit, but I couldn't mix things up significantly enough to make a difference with sharing them online all the time. It would just be the same over and over. But I guess one thing that people might not be aware of is the day-to-day life of someone like myself, where as a musician, being self-employed, the agenda at some point changes and the focus is more on doing it to earn a living than it is for the passion of singing, and trying to find that balance the whole time of still loving what I do and also knowing that it's got its purpose outside of music as well is difficult to juggle sometimes within my head. You know, sometimes I will be driving to a gig and I'll sit down in my van beforehand and I'll almost be falling asleep, and I'll think I'm not ready for this. I don't know if I could do this gig today. And you know, you've got a duty, a responsibility, so you shake yourself off, you head in. And one of the most beautiful things about it is that before you know it, you're in the zone. You're there with everyone that's come along to see you, or people that didn't even expect to be hearing music that particular night. And so, yeah, I guess I'm going a bit all over the place, but 40s, I can't wait to see what comes. I think it's going to be a really exciting few years, and maybe this new avenue that I'm taking with regards to content and sharing my experiences and sharing my thoughts might be helpful. And with the teaching, there are lots of concepts that I'm trying to deliver to students, and I found them to be really helpful. Hopefully, by sharing some of those things with you guys, anyone that's aspiring to be a singer, or even someone that's aspiring to be doing it at my level, you know, I would consider myself a professional because it's been my profession for almost 2 decades. But I think in music, it's kind of a weird territory, because a professional is someone that's signed to a label and plays really big shows and has hits on the radio, that kind of stuff. And which is, I guess, true. Maybe that's the pinnacle of success that someone can achieve through music, though I have heard some pretty horrific horror stories about musicians and record deals and the perception of their success and how it couldn't be further from the truth. But yeah, let's see how it goes. I will endeavour to create these videos for you, and it's easy, right? I get it recording, I start driving, and I just spill what's on my mind. And I do hope that you guys get a bit of enjoyment from hearing my story, and maybe even take a few little golden nuggets that you can apply to your lives, and I hope help you out as well. Anyway, I'm going to be arriving at my gig very shortly, so I'll see you all soon.